The French Wars of Religion were the result of religious tensions between French Calvinists or Huguenots and French Catholics. Most of the population at the time of Henry II was Catholic, with only 10% of the population being Calvinist. After Henry II's untimely death in a horrifying jousting accident, Calvinism began to become a more widespread religion. This was due to the weak rule presented by Henry II's sons. Henry II's wife, Catherine de' Medici, saw over the rule of her 3 children.
Nobles took advantage of Catherine's weak reign to begin adopting Protestantism. Violent clashes between Catholic royal lords and Calvinist anti-monarchs took place. Calvinists would smash Catholic statues and windows as they saw these as distractions from true faith. At the time that Henry II's son, Henry III, was king, 2 more with starkly different political and religious values began clashing for power.
Henry Navarre, who rose to power as a Protestant, challenged Henry III's position as King of France. To no surprise, another power seeker entered the conflict as well. His name was Henry of Guise, a French noble who sought to keep France a Catholic state. The 3 Henrys and their armies fought a bloody war that would last for over 20 years, each seeking to succeed in their ambition. Henry Navarre hoped to be in power and allow Protestantism to be accepted in France. Henry III hoped to remain in power, and Henry of Guise wanted for France to remain a Catholic state.
10 years after this war started, the infamous event known as the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre occurred. And this wasn't just some basic killing spree of the day, folks. No, this was an event that left thousands dead. The devious Catherine de' Medici and Henry of Guise came together and administered this attack to be set on August 24th, the day where the king's sister Margaret of Valois was to marry the Protestant Henry of Navarre, which was intended to help reconcile Catholic and Huguenots since Margaret was Catholic.
See, this was an idea that actually made sense to help the tension between Catholics and Huguenots. On the flip side, Catherine and the Guise thought that trying to stop this marriage and killing thousands of Huguenots was the key to ending the conflicts, and boy were they wrong. King Charles IX, the one who actually ordered the attack under the control of his mother, Catherine, ordered the killings to stop the day after. However, the killing continued, and thousands of Protestants continued to die. Navarre escaped the massacre by switching from Protestant to Catholic in front of the angry mob.
This massacre had consequences and results beyond thousands of people dying. For one, the Huguenots abandoned John Calvin's principle of obedience to secular rulers. No longer would they sit around like pigs waiting to be slaughtered. They knew that they faced extermination if they were defeated in the religious wars, and this prolonged the conflict. This event was undoubtedly the factor that reinvigorated the war, and would be the thing that continued this religious quarrel for many years to come.
As war continued to rage on, the only possible ending to all this conflict was the death of at least one of the leaders of the 3 armies. This, of course, did end up being the case, with 2 of the Henrys losing their lives at the hands of another. Henry III and Henry of Guise ordered the assassinations of each other as a strategic means to end the war. When both assassins ended up succeeding, Henry Navarre was left free to take power in France. Cardinal Richelieu had a theory about there needing to be a strong leader in charge of France. He ended up being correct, as without their king, France would have crumbled.
Despite beginning as a Protestant, Henry Navarre would switch between Catholicism and Calvinism to please whichever group presented him with challenge. Navarre's end goal was creating a society in which Catholics and Huguenots could live with respect towards one another. In the end, Navarre created the Edict of Nantes, which detailed rules and outlines for practicing Calvinism in the primarily Catholic state of France.
The Edict of Nantes was published on April 30th, 1598 by Henry Navarre. It provided more substantial rights for Huguenots in France. Navarre provided 92 new regulations for Huguenots to practice Calvinism without upsetting the Catholics. One example of these regulations includes outlawing the mentioning of events prior to Navarre's ascent to the throne.
This was a huge deal, as by outlawing the mentions of the religious wars, Navarre was attempting to ignore rather than to move past the war. Despite this, there were many positives within the edict. Schools could no longer discriminate towards students due to their religion, and people practicing either religion could seek any occupation, including public office. The wars of religion in France ended up being less religious and more political. This was best demonstrated by Henry Navarre. Rather than being focused on helping Huguenots, Navarre switched his faith only to remain in power.
And this was the French Wars of Religion.